On my wedding night, my sister grabbed my phone, tore my dress, and screamed something that made my parents go silent. For 3 years, I believed my father destroyed our family. I was wrong. And the truth didn't just ruin my reception, it rewrote my entire childhood. My name's Maya, 27, female, and I'm writing this from the floor of the honeymoon suite we never used, still in my wedding dress, because I can't make my hand stop shaking long enough to unzip it. If you've ever seen a white dress crumpled on hotel carpet like a shed skin, yeah, that's where I'm at. Today was supposed to be the cleanest, happiest day of my life. Instead, it turned into the day I realized my entire childhood was basically a crime scene, and I just didn't know I'd been living in it. Quick cast so you can keep up. Evan, 29, male, is my husband, technically. We've been together 4 years, and he's the kind of steady that makes you feel safe without making you feel bored. Like, he remembers the tiny stuff. He's the guy who has tissues in his glove compartment because someone always needs one. He's also the guy who, when my family gets loud, subtly steps between me and the blast radius without making it a thing. Then there's my mom, Linda, 55, female. Soft voice, sharp edges. The type who smiles through pain until it calcifies into bitterness. She has this habit of smoothing tablecloth corners, even when there's nothing to smooth. Like if she can flatten fabric, she can flatten reality. My dad is Tom, 57, male, or I guess was. He hasn't spoken to my mom in 3 years. He hasn't spoken to me in almost as long. The divorce wasn't just messy, it was radioactive, the kind that makes people pick sides even if they don't want to. I picked my mom because I was the kid still living at home when it all exploded. And because I believed her. And finally, Heather, 31, female. My older sister. The family hurricane. Heather is the kind of person who walks into a room and the room adjusts. She can be magnetic and hilarious and devastatingly attentive, like she's looking straight into your soul, until she's not. Until you disappoint her. Then she becomes this bright, wounded thing that lashes out like it's defending itself. She's always been the protector, the one who tells it like it is, the one who keeps the family together. Even when keeping it together looked a lot like controlling the oxygen. Growing up, Heather and I were close in this weird way where I was her favorite person, as long as I stayed small. She'd do my hair for school, she'd bring me snacks, she'd talk me down when my anxiety got bad. She'd also read my texts over my shoulder and help me respond. She'd fix problems I didn't ask her to fix. It felt like love. It also felt like being held too tightly. The thing is, our family has always had a crack running through it, and it started with my parents' marriage imploding. The official story is simple. Dad cheated. Mom found proof. There were emails. There was a hotel receipt. There was a scarf in his car that wasn't hers. There were deleted messages. There were business trips that didn't line up. It was brutal, cinematic, humiliating. My mom broke like glass. My dad became this cold, furious stranger who swore it was all lies, and then left anyway. Heather was the loudest voice in the wreckage. She was the one who said, "I knew it." She was the one who held Mom while she sobbed and whispered, "He doesn't deserve you." She was the one who told me, "If he tries to talk to you, don't let him rewrite history." And I listened, because I was 24 and scared and watching my mother crumble in real time. So when my wedding came around, I did the responsible thing. I invited Dad anyway, sent the invitation, no pressure, just an open door. He never RSVP'd. But this morning, while I was getting ready, my phone lit up with a single text from an unknown number. "I'm outside. If you still want me to come in, tell me now." My stomach dropped so hard I thought I might throw up on my own bouquet. And Heather, who'd been hovering like a wedding day bodyguard, snatched my phone out of my hand and said, "Way too bright. Absolutely not. Not today." That was the first moment I felt something off. Not dramatic off. Not sister being intense off. More like the air changed, like someone stepped on a loose floorboard and pretended they didn't hear it creak. And I swear to God, if I'd known what that creak meant, I would have run. Heather has always had this way of smiling like she's protecting you from something you're too fragile to see. So when she grabbed my phone and saw that text from Dad, "I'm outside. If you still want me to come in, tell me now." She didn't look surprised. She looked prepared. I remember that detail too clearly. The way her jaw tightened for half a second before she smoothed it over. The way she angled her body so the bridesmaids couldn't see the screen, like she was blocking a punch. "Absolutely not. Not today," she said again, softer this time, like she was calming a child. And I let her take the lead. Because that's what I've always done with Heather. She's 3 years older. She was the one who helped me with algebra, who drove me to my first job interview, who sat outside the bathroom door when I threw up from anxiety before prom. When our parents' marriage detonated, she became this general in the war zone. She gathered evidence. She connected dots. She was the one who found the emails. That's important. She found the emails. 3 years ago, when everything fell apart, it started with Mom, Linda, finding a printed email on Dad's desk. Something flirty. Something vague but incriminating enough. Heather was the one who insisted we check his laptop. She guessed his password on the second try. She pulled up a thread with a woman named Claire. There were hotel confirmations. There were deleted messages recovered from the trash folder. There was a forwarded itinerary for a conference that never happened. I remember Dad, Tom, standing in the kitchen, red-faced, shaking, saying, "This isn't real. I didn't write that. Linda, please." And Heather stepped between them like a shield. "Stop gaslighting her." Gaslighting. That word became our family's religion. Dad moved out within a week. Mom found a scarf in his car that wasn't hers. Heather was the one who discovered it when she borrowed the car to check something. There was also a credit card charge for a hotel 2 hours away. Heather had printed that too. Every time Dad tried to talk to me, Heather would intercept. "He's manipulating you. He's trying to rewrite it. You didn't see what I saw, Maya." And maybe she was right. I didn't see everything. I just saw my mom collapse in slow motion. I saw her stop sleeping. I saw her delete 20 years of photos off Facebook in one night. I saw her fold Dad's clothes into trash bags like she was packing up a body. So yeah, I picked her. Which is why, on my wedding day, when Heather texted back from my phone, without asking me, "Don't come. You've done enough," I froze. "Why would you say that?" I asked. She handed the phone back like it burned her. "Because he'll make a scene. You know he will. He always needs attention." That's the thing. Dad never actually made scenes. He shut down. He got quiet. The loud one was Heather, but I swallowed it. Because my mom was in the next room getting her makeup done, and her hands were already trembling. Because I didn't want my wedding turning into a divorce sequel. Evan noticed, though. He pulled me aside before the ceremony and asked, "Did you want him here?" And I said, automatically, "It's better this way." Even as something inside me whispered, "Is it?" The ceremony itself was beautiful. I walked down the aisle. Mom cried softly. Heather held her hand like she was stabilizing her. I kept scanning the back row without meaning to. There was an empty seat. At the reception, Heather drank faster than anyone else. Not sloppy, calculated, like she was bracing for impact. Around 9 p.m., while I was hugging one of Evan's cousins, I saw Heather step outside with her phone pressed tight to her ear. She looked furious. Not sad, not anxious. Furious. Through the glass doors, I could see her pacing, hair whipping around her face, free hands slicing through the air. I stepped outside because something in my chest had started pounding too hard to ignore. I didn't mean to overhear, but I did. And the first thing I heard her say was, "You were never supposed to come today." Not Dad, not Tom. Just you. And the way she said it, it wasn't protective. It was territorial. I shouldn't have been eavesdropping in my wedding dress, but there I was. Bare feet on cold concrete, the hem of my gown soaking up condensation from the patio tiles, listening to my sister unravel. Heather had her back to me. She didn't know I was there. "You don't get to just show up now," she hissed into the phone. "After everything you did." Pause. Then louder, sharp enough that two of Evan's friends glanced over from the smoking area. No, don't twist this. You made your choice 3 years ago. My stomach flipped, because that wasn't true. Dad, Tom, hadn't made a choice. He'd begged. I remember him standing in the driveway with a suitcase, crying in a way I'd never seen before. Not angry, not defensive, just cracked open. I didn't do this, he kept saying. Maya, please. Heather had wrapped her arm around me then and whispered, he's panicking because he got caught. And I believed her. Now, watching her pace under the string lights, something felt wrong in my bones. She turned slightly and I saw her face, flushed, eyes wild, mascara starting to smudge. You were supposed to stay gone, she said. That was the deal. The deal. My brain snagged on that word. I stepped forward without thinking. Gravel crunched under my heel. Heather whipped around. For a split second, pure panic flashed across her face. Not guilt, not anger. Panic. Maya, she said too brightly. Why are you out here? You'll ruin your dress. I glanced at her phone. Who are you talking to? She locked the screen immediately. No one important. That didn't sound like no one important. She laughed, short, brittle. It's just Dad being dramatic. Something inside me hardened. Put him on speaker. Her eyes flickered. Why? Because I want to hear what he's saying. For a long second, she just stared at me, measuring, calculating. Then she said, he hung up. I held out my hand. Call him back. Heather's jaw clenched. Maya, not tonight. Please, I'm trying to protect you. There it was again. Protect. From what? I asked. She stepped closer, lowering her voice. From him lying to you again. About what? She hesitated. Too long. That hesitation felt like a door cracking open somewhere deep in my chest. About the affair, she snapped finally. About how he destroyed Mom. Except, Dad had never admitted to an affair, not once. He'd denied it consistently. He'd gotten angry, yes. Defensive, yes. But he'd never slipped. Never changed his story. And Heather had always had an answer for every inconsistency. When the hotel receipt showed a date he'd supposedly been home, she said he must have paid in advance. When the Claire emails had weird typos Dad didn't usually make, she said cheaters get sloppy. When Mom found that scarf in his car, Heather had been the one who noticed it first. I felt like I was standing at the edge of something enormous and dark. Give me the phone, I said again. Heather's voice went flat. No. That single word felt louder than any scream. No, I repeated. You don't need to talk to him. He'll manipulate you. He always does. That's not your decision. Her eyes flashed. I saved this family, Maya. Saved. The music from inside shifted to something upbeat. People laughing, glasses clinking. My wedding moving forward like nothing was cracking outside. You didn't save it, I said quietly. It's destroyed. Her face twisted. You have no idea what I did for you, she said. You were too naive to see what was happening. My heart started hammering. What does that mean? Heather's breathing got heavier. Fast. Shallow. Nothing, she said quickly. You're emotional. It's your wedding. And that's when my phone buzzed in my hand. Unknown number again. A voicemail notification. Heather lunged. Not metaphorically, physically. She grabbed for my phone so hard her nails scraped my wrist. Don't, she said, voice breaking. Just don't listen to it. And that was the moment I knew. Whatever was on that voicemail, it wasn't just Dad defending himself. It was something Heather was terrified of me hearing. I didn't recognize my own voice when I said, move. It wasn't loud. It wasn't dramatic. It was steady. And that scared Heather more than if I'd screamed. She was still gripping my wrist, her nails digging crescents into my skin, when I pulled back hard enough that my bouquet slipped from my other hand and hit the patio floor. White roses scattering, one of them snapping clean at the stem. Symbolic, of course. Give me the phone, I repeated. Maya, don't do this, Heather said, and now she was shaking. Not fake crying, not performance, full body tremor. It's not what you think. That's the first time she said that. Which is funny, because until that moment, I hadn't even known what I thought. I yanked my hand free and stepped back. She lunged again, but the heel of her shoe caught in a crack between tiles, and she stumbled forward, grabbing at my dress to steady herself. There's this horrible ripping sound I'll never forget. Tulle tearing. My wedding dress, custom-fitted, months of fittings and Pinterest boards and crying in bridal boutiques, split at the side seam. We both froze. Inside, the DJ started hyping up the crowd for the cake cutting. Outside, my sister had just torn my dress open like she was trying to claw something out of me. "Look what you made me do," she whispered. Made her. I didn't answer. I just opened the voicemail. Dad's voice came through tinny and distorted at first. "Maya, I know Heather told you not to let me in. She texted me from your phone. I'm guessing you don't even know she did that." My stomach dropped so hard I thought I might faint. Behind me, Heather made this strangled noise. "Hang up, delete it," Dad continued. "I don't want to ruin your day, I can't carry this anymore. I didn't cheat on your mom. I have proof. The emails were fabricated. The hotel receipt was printed from our home computer. I know because I checked the metadata after she showed it to me." Heather was pacing now, hands in her hair. "He's lying. He's lying." The login attempts to my email came from our house, multiple times. I didn't know how at first. Then I remembered Heather asked me for my password months before because she said she needed to fix something on my laptop. The air felt thin. My brain was trying to reject the information like a body rejecting an organ. Dad's voice cracked. "I didn't say anything because your mom was already broken. And Heather, she told me if I fought it, she'd make it worse. She said she had more. I didn't know what she meant. I just wanted you girls out of it." Heather screamed then. Actually screamed. She slapped the phone out of my hand. It skidded across the patio and hit the base of a metal chair with a dull crack. The music inside faltered. A few guests started drifting toward the doors. "You weren't supposed to listen to that," she shrieked. "Is it true?" My voice sounded far away. "Did you log into his email?" "He was cheating," she yelled. "I just helped Mom see it." "That's not what he said." She grabbed one of the patio lanterns and hurled it against the brick wall. Glass exploded. Someone inside gasped. "You don't get to believe him over me," she screamed, "after everything I did for you." The doors flew open. Mom, Linda, was standing there. And behind her, pale and rigid like he'd seen a ghost, Dad. I don't know when he came inside. I don't know how long he'd been standing there. But I know he heard that last part. "You don't get to believe him over me." And the look on Mom's face? It wasn't confusion. It was recognition. Like a puzzle piece she'd been ignoring for 3 years just snapped into place. That was the exact moment my wedding stopped being a wedding and started becoming a crime scene. I don't think I'll ever forget the silence that followed Heather's scream. It was the kind of silence that isn't quiet. It's packed. Thick. Everyone holding their breath at the same time. Mom, Linda, was still standing in the doorway, one hand clutching the frame like she needed it to stay upright. Dad, Tom, was a step behind her. Not inside the party, not fully outside, just there. Like he didn't know where he was allowed to exist. Heather saw them, and instead of shrinking, she doubled down. "Oh, good," she laughed, but it came out hysterical. "Now we can all stop pretending." "Stop pretending what?" Mom's voice was small. Too small. Heather turned on her instantly. "That he's innocent. That you weren't miserable. That I didn't save you from wasting the rest of your life." Saved. She kept using that word like it was holy. Dad stepped forward, careful, like he was approaching a wounded animal. "Heather, please, not like this." "Don't please me," she snapped, grabbing one of the tall floral centerpieces from a nearby cocktail table and hurling it. It smashed against the patio railing, water and white lilies exploding everywhere. Guests were fully outside now. Evan was suddenly beside me, his hand firm on my lower back, steadying me. "Hey," he murmured. "I'm here." I felt like I was watching my life from underwater. Mom looked at Heather like she didn't recognize her. "What did you do?" Mom whispered. And there it was, the crack widening. Heather's face crumpled, but not with guilt, with rage. "I did what you couldn't," she screamed. "You were too weak to leave him." The words hit like a slap. Mom physically flinched. I saw something shift in Dad's expression. Not anger, not triumph. Horror. "Heather," he said quietly, "tell her about the emails." She lunged at him. Actually lunged. If Evan hadn't stepped forward, she would have shoved him straight into the patio table. Instead, she collided with Evan's shoulder, stumbled, and grabbed a chair to steady herself. The chair tipped, crashed. The sound echoed like a gunshot. "He's lying," she shrieked. "He always lies." "Then explain the metadata," Dad said, voice trembling but steady. "Explain why the login attempts came from the house." Heather's breathing got ragged. For a second, just a second, she looked cornered. Then she pointed at me. "You think you're so innocent?" she spat. "You would have left too. He was going to abandon us eventually. I just made it happen on our terms." The world tilted. "You made it happen?" I repeated. She laughed again, ugly, broken. "He was already halfway out the door. I just helped Mom see it. I printed the emails. I nudged things. That scarf? I put it there. So what? He would have cheated eventually." Mom made this sound I can't even describe, like something tearing from the inside. "You forged them?" Mom asked. "I protected you," Heather screamed back. And that's when something inside me snapped into focus. All those years. The intercepted texts. The evidence. The way Heather always found the proof. The way she controlled the narrative. She didn't just expose an affair, she manufactured one. And she did it slowly, strategically. Like she was building a case. The patio lights flickered in the wind. My dress was still torn at the hip. I stepped forward. "Heather," I said, and my voice didn't shake this time. "You're going to show Mom your laptop, right now." She blinked. "What?" "You said you printed the emails. That means you have drafts, files, something, unless you deleted them." Her face went white. I don't." "You're going to show her," I repeated, in front of everyone. This wasn't screaming revenge. This was surgical. If she wanted the stage, I was going to give it to her. And this time, she wasn't directing the script. If there's a sound worse than glass shattering at your wedding, it's your mother whispering, "Please tell me that's not true," to her own child. Heather backed up like I'd pulled a weapon on her. "I'm not showing anyone anything," she snapped, clutching her purse to her chest. "This is insane. You're insane." "Then it should be easy to prove," I said. My voice felt detached from my body, calm in a way that scared even me. Evan's hand was still warm against my back, grounding me. Dad hadn't moved. Mom looked like she might collapse. "Show the emails you printed," I continued. "Or show us the drafts. You said you printed them. That means they were created somewhere." "I deleted them," Heather screamed. The entire patio froze again. Deleted. She heard herself a second too late. Dad closed his eyes. Mom's hand flew to her mouth. "You deleted what?" Mom asked. Heather's breathing turned frantic. "Old files, junk. You know how many things I cleaned up in that house? You were drowning, Mom. You couldn't function." That part was true. Mom hadn't been functioning, but that didn't make the rest okay. "You logged into his email," I said, more statement than question. She didn't answer. "Did you send messages to yourself?" Dad asked quietly. "From a fake account?" Heather looked at him like she wanted to rip him apart. "You would have cheated eventually," she screamed again. "You were bored. You were distant. You made her feel invisible." "That's not an answer," Evan said calmly. It was the first time he'd spoken directly to her. Heather rounded on him like a feral cat. "Stay out of this. This is family." "I'm her husband," Evan replied evenly. "This is my family." That word, husband, cut through me, solid, real, present, unlike everything else unraveling. Heather's mask started slipping. "You don't understand," she said, voice cracking. I watched him pull away for years. I saw it. I felt it. I knew he was going to leave. "So you made him?" I asked. She looked at me then. Really looked at me. And for the first time, I didn't see a protector. I saw someone terrified of losing control. "If he left on his own," she whispered, "we wouldn't have had power." Power. There it was. Mom physically staggered like she'd been hit. Dad moved to steady her, hesitated, then gently touched her elbow. She didn't pull away. That tiny detail felt seismic. Heather noticed too. Her face twisted. "Oh my God," she breathed. "You're going to forgive him. After everything." "Everything you orchestrated?" Dad asked. And that's when she lost it completely. She grabbed the nearest thing, one of the metal folding chairs, and hurled it across the patio. It slammed into the cake table inside the reception hall through the open doors. The edge of our wedding cake, 3 tiers, white buttercream, collapsed sideways in slow motion. Gasps. Someone screamed. Frosting hit the floor like a body falling. Security from the venue finally rushed in. Heather started sobbing and screaming at the same time. "You're all turning against me. I did this for you. I did this so we wouldn't be abandoned." "By destroying us?" I asked. She lunged toward Mom again, but security intercepted her this time. She fought them. Actually fought them. Nails, kicks, hair flying everywhere. "I saved you," she kept shouting. "You were too weak to leave." Mom just stood there, hollow. Dad's hand was still lightly on her arm. And my wedding cake was sliding off a table in pieces. That was the moment it fully hit me. Heather hadn't just lied. She'd rewritten our family history. And now, in front of everyone I loved, the rewrite was burning to the ground. The police lights outside my wedding venue were blue and red against white tulle. That's the image burned into my brain. Heather was still screaming when they walked her out. Not calm, not embarrassed. Furious. Thrashing. Telling anyone who would listen that we were ungrateful, brainwashed, weak. "I saved you," she kept shouting at Mom. "You'd still be miserable." Mom didn't respond. She just stood there in her pale blue dress, hands limp at her sides, staring at the smashed cake like it held the answer to everything. Guests started leaving quietly. Some hugged me. Some avoided eye contact. Frosting was smeared across the hardwood floor. My bouquet was still outside on the patio, half crushed. Evan didn't let go of my hand. Dad hadn't moved far either. He stayed a respectful distance from Mom, like he was afraid even standing too close might shatter something fragile. After Heather was gone, the silence wasn't explosive anymore. It was empty. Mom finally sat down in one of the folding chairs Heather hadn't destroyed. Dad crouched in front of her slowly. "I didn't cheat," he said again, softly. Not defensive. Just tired. Mom didn't look at him. "I know," she whispered. "That broke something in me. 3 years. 3 years of cold holidays. 3 years of birthdays with tension thick as fog. 3 years of me believing my father betrayed us, because my sister needed control." Mom started shaking, not violently like Heather, but like someone whose internal scaffolding had just dissolved. "I let her convince me," Mom said, staring at her hands. "Every time you denied it, she had something else. A screenshot. A receipt. She'd say, 'He deleted it, but I recovered it.' She made me feel stupid for doubting." Dad's voice cracked. "I didn't know how to fight something that didn't exist. I felt nauseous. Because I had doubted him too. Not openly. But I'd pulled away. I'd stopped answering his calls. I'd believed Heather when she said he was manipulating me." Evan squeezed my hand harder. "This isn't on you," he murmured. But it was. A little. I chose the version of reality that felt simpler. The venue manager eventually approached us gently and said we had to clear out. The night was over. My wedding reception ended with half a cake, shattered glass, and police paperwork. Sweet revenge? It didn't feel sweet yet. It felt like surgery without anesthesia. We went back to the hotel, me, Evan, Mom, and Dad. Not in the same car. Not dramatically reunited. Just moving in the same direction for the first time in years. Mom didn't want to go home alone. In the hotel suite, I finally peeled off my torn dress. The seam gaped open like a wound. Evan helped me unzip what was left of it carefully, like it was fragile evidence. Mom sat on the couch staring at nothing. Dad stood near the window, unsure where to put himself. "I need help," Mom said finally. Not to Dad, to me. "I think I need therapy." That was the first honest thing she'd said in years. Dad nodded immediately. "I'll pay for it. Whatever you need." She looked at him for the first time that night, and she didn't look angry. She looked devastated. 3 years of rage replaced by one horrifying possibility. What if she'd been wrong? My phone buzzed. Unknown number again. Heather. Voicemail. Evan looked at me. "You don't have to." I swallowed. "No," I said. "I think I do." Because whatever came next, rebuilding, therapy, maybe even forgiveness, it couldn't happen in the dark. And Heather? Heather had just lost the spotlight. Now she was going to have to live with what she'd done in full light. I hit play. I put the phone on speaker. Heather's breathing filled the room first. Ragged. Wet. Like she'd been crying hard enough to choke on it. Then her voice. "You think you won," she said. No apology, no panic now, just venom. Mom flinched on the couch. Dad went still near the window. Evan stayed beside me, solid and warm. "You humiliated me," Heather continued, "in front of strangers. You threw a chair at my wedding cake," I said quietly. "You forced me," she snapped. "You cornered me." There it was again. We made her do it. We always made her. "You forged emails," I said. "You planted a scarf. You logged into Dad's account." Silence. Then, softer, almost eerily calm. "I did what had to be done." Mom made a broken sound. Heather inhaled shakily. "He was leaving. I saw it. The late nights. The distance. You didn't see how he looked at you, Mom. Like he was already somewhere else." Dad swallowed. "Marriage gets complicated, Heather. That doesn't mean—" "Don't," she cut him off. "You were weak. She was weak. Someone had to pull the trigger." Pull the trigger. She said it like strategy, like this had been a chess move. "I was tired of waiting for you to hurt us," she went on. "So I controlled it. I made it clean. I gave Mom proof so she wouldn't doubt herself." "You gave her trauma," I said. That word landed. For a second, her breathing faltered. "You don't get it," she whispered. "I was protecting us." "No," I said. "You were protecting control." And that was the last time I argued. Because here's the thing about revenge. It doesn't have to be loud. It doesn't have to involve smashing anything. Sometimes it's just refusing to keep someone's secret. Earlier, when security escorted Heather out, one of the guests, Evan's cousin, had filmed part of the patio meltdown. Not maliciously, just reflex. The world records everything. I texted her while Heather was ranting on voicemail. "Send it." The video showed Heather screaming, "I printed the emails. I put the scarf there. You were too weak to leave." Clear as day. I didn't post it publicly. I sent it to exactly 3 people. Our Aunt Karen, our Uncle Mike, and Heather's boyfriend, Caleb. The people she'd been telling for 3 years that Dad was a cheater. The people she'd cried to about saving Mom. I attached one message. She admitted it. Tonight. That was it. No commentary, no smear campaign, just truth. Heather was still talking when her voice cracked again. "They're going to turn on me," she said suddenly, fragile for the first time. "You're going to let them." "I'm not turning anyone against you," I replied. "I'm stepping out of the lie." Silence. Then a small, terrified whisper. "You're choosing him." "I'm choosing reality." She hung up. The fallout wasn't cinematic after that. It was slow. Dad started coming by the house for coffee. Not moving back in, just sitting at the table, talking. Sometimes not talking. Mom started therapy within a week. The first few sessions left her exhausted, like she'd run a marathon inside her own head. But she kept going. I started therapy too. because believing a lie that big messes with your sense of self. Heather tried to spin it at first, told people she was overwhelmed, that we twisted her words. But when the video circulated within the family, she couldn't outrun it. Caleb broke up with her. Aunt Karen stopped taking her calls for a while. Eventually, months later, Heather texted me something different. Not defensive, not raging. I don't know why I needed control that badly. I think I was scared of being irrelevant. That was the closest she'd come to an apology. We're not fixed. Dad still carries guilt for leaving even though he didn't cheat. Mom still wakes up some nights shaking. I still remember the sound of my dress tearing. But my wedding day didn't end my family. It exposed it. And maybe that's the strangest, most bittersweet part. The marriage that survived that night wasn't just mine and Evan's. It was the possibility that truth, even when it detonates everything, can clear enough space to rebuild something real.